Well, friends, it's over. We did our best. We tried as hard as we could to save the world. And we didn't. It's over. The global climate has curled over the edge of stability. We are witnessing the crumbling of our natural world. I am not going to give you a list of the terrifying milestones that we are crossing as a planet. Nor am I interested in simply dwelling upon the majestic beauty that we are losing all around us in our environment. Death is a part of life, and as a planet, we are right now moving through and toward a time of much death. Friends, our task is no longer to save the world. We tried. Well, some of us did. I am speaking now of myself, I suppose, mostly. I tried really hard to recycle. I'm sure some of you know what I'm talking about. I'm speaking now not to our leaders who failed to solve the most difficult problem of our generations. I'm speaking not to the wealthy 1%, the plutocrats and dictators that could have influenced the course of history otherwise. No, I'm talking to you. We are normal people. We are children of parents. Some of us are parents of children. Some of us lead most of our life the best that we can. Some of us are couch surfing. Some of us are waiting on a housing voucher. Some of us are working. Some are retired. All I'm saying is we who did not choose this course of action must now deal with our destabilization. Friends, let us now forgive ourselves of this failure. Consumers have been blamed for the death of the earth for as long as I have been consuming media. I've tried to recycle, as I mentioned, but the earth is still dying. And I know that you all tried to recycle too. Forgive yourselves, please, for losing a game that was not designed for us to win. I will forgive myself for not saving the world if you will do it with me. The world didn't get saved, and now we are seeing the repercussions. As the climate continues to destabilize, particularly on our coasts, things are likely to get worse. I am speaking to you who did not choose this, you who do not set the course of the world, you who are not the 1%. I want you to forgive yourself, rest, and hear me now when I say we have to change the way we think about these things. We have to change the way we think of each other. We have to change the way we think of this world. We tried to fix it, and we didn't. I know I tried, but the deck was stacked against us, and now I know there were no right answers then either. I want to say that the earth has been changing for a long time. The earth has changed many times before, and the earth will likely change many times again. There have been times of life, and there have been times of death. I am grateful now to be grieving together with you, church, because I don't want to be a witness to this mass extinction alone. These struggles that we deal with, that our planet is dealing with, are similar to other struggles that we have had to face as a species and as a culture in the past. They're similar in that these issues can be overcome, but not alone, not separate from each other, and not without acknowledging what is happening in our life. I'm not here to focus on what already happened. I'm calling this message today a eulogy because we're passing from a time of life into a time of death, and we should be ready for it. We should prepare our bodies and our communities for this reality. Now, some of you may have heard of an experience called compassion fatigue. Does this sound familiar? I bet you have some of that experience of compassion fatigue that I'm talking about. Maybe you have experienced it now in the face of our terrible news cycles. Perhaps you experience compassion fatigue just walking out your door in New York City. I know I have. Compassion fatigue means the impact of trauma or loss of life. That emotional experience gets smaller as the scope of trauma and death grows. I want to be clear. Our emotional experience of trauma and death shrinks as the scope of trauma and death grow. Compassion fatigue means we are overwhelmed, so much that we are not physically capable of the reflex of compassion anymore. Compassion fatigue is what it feels like when we say, it's all just too much. I'm telling you now about compassion fatigue so that you might forgive yourself for it. Don't be surprised at it, church. Don't be afraid of it. It doesn't mean you've grown cold. Compassion fatigue is real, and things out here are rough for everyone. We who are tasked with remembering these changes from a time of life to a time of death may not see the good news in these changes very easily. There is truth in the willingness to admit what is happening, but we who ache with these memories, things are rough out here for everyone. Not one of us can claim to be alone in the midst of this interconnected web of suffering. It is evidence that no matter how isolated we might seem to be, isolated by our physical limitations, isolated by our unique ideas, isolated by our social situations, that all of these kinds of isolation, even if it's just fear of being around others, this isolation is real and imagined. We are truly isolated in our experience of loneliness. We are not truly isolated in the context of interconnected being. Isolation is an illusion that hurts. We might seem to be separate, but we all share the same resources. We breathe the same air. We drink the same water. We give and receive the same love. Tell me you don't see the burst of life happening right now in our midst between us as people in this time of death. Because I do. And I would never suggest that this great life that I see cropping up requires the suffering that we are also experiencing. But here and now, I will tell you, church, I see a burst of life in the creative spirit of artists, pushing the envelope forward. I see it in visual art. I hear it in music. I see it in game day today. That's right, it's going to be a lot of fun. But I see that creativity, that thrust of life, that burst of creative energy, even now in our time of death. I see a wave of frustrated, lonely grown-ups who are tired of this isolation of the pandemic. Everybody is trying to teach everybody. They have all of these ideas, and they don't know where to put them. People are reaching out to each other in new and creative, exciting, inspiring ways. I see children around whose rigid existence has frayed at the edges. School attendance policies that are more aspirational than feasible. I see that the light of truth is shining through just a little bit in these children's lives, such that their cultures can bring that harmony together. It is the first time I have seen children sharing with me what they love about being themselves. I see teachers and parents and even our local leaders, local government leaders, trying to be creative and respond to the world not just as it is, but how it should be. And let me tell you, I see our ministers at this church doing the same thing. Reverend Peggy and Reverend Jude doing the same thing. I see something growing, church. It may be a time of death, but something here is being born. I want to finish with an image, and I want to share with you a story in this image of something that I experienced not far from here, a little bit further uptown. If you're not here from New York City, then you might not know that many of our blocks, our streets, have scaffolding. Blocks and blocks of scaffolding, sometimes 20 feet high. Through these canyons of buildings, these scaffolding can create echo chambers where what we hear is not so clear where it's coming from. Well, I want to tell you a story of a time a little further uptown. I was walking through one of these scaffolding canyons. I walked with a cane, slowly. It helps me with my injured foot. And I was looking down, as any New Yorker will tell you is for self-protection. I'm looking down and holding my cane, and I hear the sound of someone singing. I heard a faint sound at first, and I realized it wasn't one, but many, and it was not the voice of adults, but children. So, I slowed down and I looked around, hoping to see where the sound came from. But because the scaffolding canyons play tricks with the sound, I couldn't place it, but it was growing. I stood there, listening, and after a moment, I saw a group of school children, mostly 10, 11-year-old girls, coming down the street, singing a song, and I recognized it as the melody of a hymn. They were singing as if they had come from church. Without prompting, it was as if they knew I had stopped to listen. The girls broke into harmony. It was a breathless experience for me. I sat there listening to children singing to no one in particular on the streets of New York City through the echoing canyons of scaffolding. Now, after they went past, there's no way I would have known, but there were starling and blue jays nesting above the scaffolding. And starling and blue jays have a penchant for picking up melodies that they hear. So after the children went by, I stayed there listening to the same song coming from the birds above me. This is New York City, friends. This is New York City, and the children are singing with the birds right now. If that isn't a miracle, I don't know what it is. You know, New York City will never be finished. There will always be scaffolding, there will always be construction, there will always be bits of our city crumbling under our feet, much like the whole earth is crumbling under everyone else's feet right now. As New Yorkers, we might know a little more about what to do in times of climate destabilization, because our world in New York has never been stable. And now I don't know what kind of scaffolding there will be in the world to come that we will have to sing through. I don't know what echo chambers will be created by the new structures of our future. But I can tell you that these struggles we are in and experiencing don't hold a candle to the new life flowing into our world right now from the creativity of the people who are living in it. We are in no danger, friends, of losing our spirit. We are in no danger of losing the future that belongs to us. Our task now, as the earth crumbles, is to care for anyone who comes to our doorstep. It is our task to keep heart and forgive ourselves for all of the little weirdness that comes in the time of death and a time of change. Forgive yourselves. Finishing this life isn't the point. Enjoying it, I think, just might be. So, witness beauty. Witness beauty together with me and wherever you go when you leave from here. Focus on those who also enjoy beauty, right here, right now. We are all in the same boat. Witness to the beauty in yourselves if no one else will. Witness to the beauty of your own failings, because there is humor in all of us. Witness to the beauty of those around you, because I will tell you from my experience, church, this community is full of beautiful people. They are sitting right next to you. Witness to the beauty of those gathered here with you now. Witness as a truth. Witness as an acknowledgement of creation and its inherent beauty. Remember that everything that breathes is a miracle. Amen.